Hello, and in this week's Beer Reactions we're going to be looking at another one of our intrepid home-crafted heroes. This week by the name of...
We've got a guy called Mike Bell from Formby in Merseyside.
Yeah.
He sent us 2 beers to try. We've got the Fat Controller Oatmeal Stout, and we also have Simamacitra.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Beer Reactions. I'm Jono.
And I'm Paul, and this week we're going to be looking at another of our home-crafted heroes. Whoa, now the thing is, do you know, these beers we've been sent by a chap called Mike Bell from Formby in Merseyside. Yeah. So we've got 2 beers. One is called the Fat Controller.
And this one is called Simamacitra. And this is an IPA, I think, yep. Unrefined.
So let me tell you a little bit about our intrepid brewer Mike Bell. So Mike actually owns a pub called the Brew Station. The Beer Station, which is now a microbrewery.
Right, okay.
So it's next to Freshfield Railway Station.
Okay.
Don't know where that is. So hence the name Beer Station. So he's basically brewing his own beers for sale in the pub, and he still has very much a home brewer's setup for brewing his beer.
Okay.
So he's essentially kind of completed that journey that so many of us aspire to.
I'd love to do, yeah.
Making that journey from a sort of amateur to pro, although I think Mike perhaps still considers himself to be an amateur. So these beers he brewed back in July 2019. So once again, apologies Mike, you know, it's almost like here.
They have been stored well.
Since they've been brewed. The oatmeal stouts, that time will do absolutely no harm at all.
It won't.
For a hot forward beer like the Simamacitra, might have suffered, but we'll see. Let's hope it's not. Mike actually said it's been a pretty tough year for him, simply because of COVID and some other things, but he's pleased to be up and running again now, and he said that he's actually put on 3 brews this week.
That's
so
brilliant.
Well done. Yeah,
well done Mike.
And he also said that Fat Controller was actually voted Beer of the Festival at the Liverpool Camera Beer Festival.
Wow. Which
is excellent because we had another Camera Festival winner last time around.
So that's
fantastic. Yeah. And also note that Mike is also a fan of cross-Maloof yeasts, and a lot of people are getting into the cross-Maloof yeast.
I think I'm going to have to try that.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
So, shall we just get...
Which one shall we do first?
What do you fancy? Should we go for the stout first?
I think we should stout first.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's get pouring.
Let's get pouring. Okay. So shall I do this one?
Shall I tell you what? I'll push my glass over there.
Oh, good idea. Good idea. So we're still trying to maintain our distance. So really nice Grol style bottles here. I'm just going to pop this and see whether we get Ginny. Ready? Oh, that's an absolute belter. There's a fantastic Ginny in there. I can tell you.
From here, yeah.
Oh, it's coming out. It smells absolutely
like dry ice pouring out of a bottle. That was really good. That was really good.
Wow, look at the colour of that head, it looks absolutely marvellous.
That's really good, that.
Okay.
Yeah, very good. I think it's kept well, Mike, it's kept well.
Brilliant. I'm just going to pop the lid back on that. We'll maybe finish that off later, Jono.
Right, I'll reach over and get that. Okay,
so
sniff. Oh, it's got a really dark coffee smell about it.
Oh, it has, isn't it? Do you know, no disrespect to Mike, but that aroma really kind of surpasses my expectations actually. That smells
got a really
fantastic.
dark roasted coffee, and then there's that...
And a chocolatey.
Yeah, there's chocolatiness about it.
Now, ABV of this one is I think 7%.
Okay, so quite a strong one there, Mike.
Yeah, quite a strong one.
Quite a strong one. We've been trying quite a few strong beers of late.
We have quite a few strong beers, and actually we did do another episode beforehand with 2 very strong beers, so we might be a little bit on the tipsy side.
Don't know what he's talking about.
Okay, so let's
But
get
there's that bit of coffee and bitter chocolate smell, and it smells rich. There's a richness about it.
We tried a stout a couple of weeks ago which had a kind of mineral taste to it, which is not unusual for a stout, but this certainly doesn't have
that sort of carbon smell.
That sort of aroma is certainly not coming through on this one, and it's holding. The head is retained really well.
Cheers, Mike.
Cheers, Mike.
Thank you for sending this in. Oh, that is
absolutely.
That is phenomenal.
So I think this is the beer that he said won the camera.
It is, yeah, the back controller, which I'm assuming is a reference to the Thomas the Tank Engine.
Do you know what? That is absolutely delicious.
It is delicious, yeah.
I could.
Have you got any more of these, Mike?
Oh. So.
The thing is, though, we like stout. So
yeah, we do like. I didn't think I liked stouts before we began this sort of beer reactions journey, but I think we do now.
Yeah.
Certainly, I do.
It's such a rich flavour, and you get the same reaction on your tongue as you do with your nose when you smell that. You get that bit of coffee and bit of chocolate, but then there's like a mellow creaminess that rides over.
And the sweetness as well.
Yeah, and that sort of tips that balance and makes it really pleasurable. And then right at the end, you get that hoppy bitterness on the back of your tongue. And it's almost, it's not citrusy. That's the wrong way to describe it. But it's just a slight tartness that then just tips out that. It takes away that overriding sweetness that you get in a stout, and that's what's meant to happen. And it almost makes it like a sumptuous thing.
Oh gosh, do you know, that feels quite decadent.
It does, yeah. It's almost like an imperial stout. It's got that same viscosity that you get with an imperial stout. What was it, the one from Holland that we tried a few months ago? Deer Hunter, yeah. It's a very similar feel to Deer Hunter.
I don't think it's quite as viscous as Deer Hunter.
I don't know, I think but to me it is, I don't know. But anyway.
But I did say a couple of weeks ago, because we tried to start a couple of weeks ago from
Jeffrey Downing.
That's the one, Jeff Downing. And I was saying how I quite liked a stout on a Saturday night as my kind of pudding beer. When we're, you know,
how many pudding beers do you have?
The kids are in bed, the wife says, do you want a cup of tea? And I say, actually, do you know what? I'll have my pudding stout when we're tucking into that millionth episode of whatever it is we're working our way through, and this most definitely...
You're not still watching Postman Pat?
I actually am, and it's not called Postman Pat anymore, Jono. It's called Special Delivery Service.
Oh, is it? Alright. And it's not. It's certainly not Thomas the Tank Engine.
Now, that is a terrific beer.
It is absolutely
terrific. Shall we put that aside and have a taste of Mike's other beer?
Mike's other beer, which is Simamacitra.
Simamacitra. So.
Yeah.
So you're going to hold that up to the microphone and see if we get a pop with that one as well. I mean,
are you ready?
The condition of that oatmeal stout was absolutely terrific.
You ready?
Yep.
Oh! Look at that genie coming out of there.
Absolutely beautiful.
Right, here we go. Let's have a look at this. Let me gently pour that.
Wow. Do you know what's interesting? I have never used, Grolsch bottles,
swing top bottles,
for homebrewing purposes.
I've got a dozen in a box that I've never used.
Both these beers have obviously had a very good secondary fermentation in the bottles, really nicely conditioned. Oh, that looks absolutely delicious, Jono. Really beautiful colour. Now, the one thing that Mike says on both of these bottles is that they're unrefined, and you can tell that from just the colour of that beer. There's a very slight cloudiness to it.
Yeah. Which is what you'd expect from an unrefined beer, but I mean,
brilliant, absolutely brilliant. Now, what's interesting to note is, and I don't know if you can see if you hold it back up to the camera, John,
Yep,
but you can see the bubbles, the carbon dioxide coming up through the beer. And you know, this isn't a beer that has a scored pint glass, you know, a scoring on the bottom of the pint glass. So the glass isn't scored on the bottom,
which creates that.
Which you sometimes get in
a lot of these commercial beers. The
beers.
glasses that you get. I'm naming no names, Stella. You often get a little star-shaped scoring on the bottom. What that does is you get the coldness that falls to the bottom of the glass, and what that does, it makes that CO2 then break out at that point in time.
So this is absolutely natural secondary fermentation, and a very, very good secondary fermentation. So let's have a little smell of this. Oh, do you know, for a beer that was brewed in July last year,
lemoniness to it.
There's a sweetness to it as well. Yeah. It's almost like there's a sweetness a bit like a stick of rock.
There is. Yeah.
So like lemon. Lemon rock. If it was such a thing.
Things like lemon boiled sweet, it's got sherbet in.
Yeah, sherbet lemons.
That's the one. Lemon sweets with sherbet in. What do they call those? Lemon sweets with sherbet in. Sherbet lemons.
So let's get another taste of that, will we? Oh man, that's
beautiful.
That is outstanding.
To say that this was brewed a year ago,
that is absolutely outstanding.
That is. It's just.
What's the alcohol volume, Jono?
This one is 4.5%. It's almost a nice session beer, really.
Ah, man, the condition of that beer is absolutely terrific.
It's lovely, yeah.
The taste. It's just. It's not particularly hop forward, although it has that lovely kind of lemon sherbet smell to it.
That's the overriding thing. I would have called it sherbet lemons.
Lemon sherbets. Did I say sherbet lemon?
Sherbet lemons.
Lemon sherbets.
We're obsessed with sherbet lemons.
But there is a sweetness in there as well that's kind of coming through, and that is a very, very drinkable beer.
It is. It's lovely.
So if I was in the beer station just now,
have you got this on tap?
I'd have to be sitting outside, Mike, because of lockdown. But I would, if you got this on tap, I'd be delighted to have a couple of pints of that.
I'm disappointed we've only got the one, Mike. I am disappointed because it's so nice. When I get to the bottom of this glass, I'll be looking for another one, and sadly there won't be one. Paul selfishly had the other half. So that there's a bitterness, you've got that sweetness and that tartness, and it is like that sherbety lemoniness.
It is.
And then that dissipates, it just leaves
sherbety
like
lemoniness.
Yeah, sherbety lemony sherbetyness. And then that dissipates away to leave that sweetness with a bit of a bitterness at the end, and it's almost like it's something that makes you want to have another drink of it, just to keep it going. Do you know what I mean? It's so palatable.
The aftertaste, the bitterness is. We talked about this a couple of weeks ago when we had an episode about Timothy Taylor's and Black Sheep, about how the bitterness of both beers was on different parts of your tongue.
Yeah, and it's true.
And actually, the bitterness of this beer is kind of around the outside of my tongue, and it's really, which allows the sweetness,
the sweet flavours to come through a bit.
To come through really, really well. So I would just like to say thank you very much for getting in touch and sending these beers through, and obviously, you know, the time that they've been sat in the bottle in my pantry has done them absolutely no harm.
Not at all.
And that's quite interesting because it makes you think about what's the ideal temperature for storing beer.
I always say it's 7 degrees.
Well, that's right. So I mean, my kitchen probably sits at sort of 18 to 20 degrees probably, and they've been sitting in there for 6 months probably. So it certainly hasn't done them any harm at all whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
So what about scores in the doors for a for a brewer, John?
Well, the first one, I mean, come on.
It's a belter, isn't it?
That was a belter. I'm going to give that 9. Fat Controller. This one, it's close. 8.5.
8.5. Well, I'm going to give both those beers 10 because, and the reason I'm giving both those beers 10 is if you challenged me and said, why did you not give them 10? What would make that beer a 10? I don't think there's anything more you could do to improve the flavour.
Are you challenging me now, is that what you're saying?
Well, that's a good question. What would you do to make that beer a 10?
This one, slight more bitterness in it.
Okay.
This one, I think it's a bit too strong for my palate.
Okay.
That's all. And that's
in terms of the
minor
sweetness or the lemoniness?
This one, you mean?
Yes.
I think just a bit more of that lingering bitterness that you get at the end for that sort of a beer, just to make it so you're not glugging it like pop.
Yeah.
And this one, it's just a bit too. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind strong beers, but it's just a bit too strong for me as an alcohol content. The stout.
Yeah.
Sorry, that one.
Yeah.
Sorry,
Yep.
that one.
Yep.
But that doesn't mean there's anything wrong with it. But that's all.
So for me,
that's just a personal thing. I'm not saying that detracts from the beer in any way.
An overall score of 10 from me, and an overall score of 8.
8.5 and 9.
8.5 and 9. So let's call it 8.5. So that's 18.5 out of 20 as a whole for Mike Bell and the beer station. That's a proper good score.
I would love to be able to visit that.
Well done, Mike. We'd just like to, I think, finish by raising our glasses to you and saying thank you very much.
Indeed.
We've thoroughly enjoyed drinking your beer this evening, and we wish you all the best in the future. And please keep in touch with us, particularly as you go on that journey from becoming a home brewer to becoming a microbrewer and possibly beyond.
And
so
please subscribe. Please subscribe to the Beerreactions channel.
Indeed.
Like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah.
Yada 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 yada.
Yada yada. Cheers.
Cheers.
Ding.